What's good, y'all? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. And today I'm going to teach you how to make brownies. So we're starting off quickly right here. In the bowl I have 1 cup of butter, and I'm adding 1 cup of brown sugar. And you make sure that your butter is room temperature and it's softened, because if you don't, the consistency is going to come out really weird. But just make sure your butter is softened. And then also we're going to add a cup of granulated white sugar, and you can see I'm struggling to open the bag right here. So we're just going to add these ingredients in the bowl and then mix them all together. So right here, I'm just mixing the brown sugar, white sugar, and the butter all together. You just want to keep mixing until you get to like the pasty consistency I was just talking about. Not like liquidy, but kind of like a thick consistency. If you feel like you don't have enough butter in your bowl, you can always add a little bit more butter. Right here, I'm just eyeballing the recipe that I have. I ended up adding just a little bit more butter than I should have, but that's fine. It still came out good anyways. But you just want to make sure you're mixing the wet ingredients all together and making sure that it's to that paste consistency. So while I was mixing, I sort of realized that the brown sugar was kind of like hardening. I'm not sure why I was doing that. I believe it was because of the butter, but I always use a certain brown sugar whenever I'm baking. But the brown sugar that I ended up buying was light brown sugar, and I never really use light brown sugar. I always buy the authentic brown sugar. But whenever you're using brown sugar, make sure you buy like authentic brown sugar, nothing light, nothing, just regular dark brown sugar. I had to buy that brown sugar last minute because some ingredients I was missing, so I had to do a quick Target run and just buy some ingredients last minute on hand. So right here, I'm adding just a little bit more butter because I kind of realized that, or I kind of felt like, it wasn't enough butter. Like I said before, I'm just eyeballing the recipe. I'm not really following like a specific recipe. This is just a recipe that I put together when I started baking, and the recipe has never failed me, honestly. So I just go by that. So as you can see, you want your mixture to be like a paste consistency like you see right here. And now I'm just adding in my 2 cracked eggs. You want to use large brown eggs, or whichever, large, white, doesn't matter, I don't care. Like grade A eggs, and I almost dropped this egg. But you want to use 2 eggs, mix them in. And then at this point, you want to add your 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I had to buy a specific vanilla because they didn't have the vanilla I wanted. And whenever you're buying vanilla, make sure you're not buying the imitation one. Make sure you're buying the real vanilla, because imitation is not the one we want. I was looking at the box and I was kind of like smelling it, because I realized it wasn't like giving me that vanilla scent, and I was kind of scared about the imitation one. But it ended up being fine, so yeah. And at this point, you just want to mix in your eggs, and your vanilla in the batter. And also just keep mixing and make sure that you break down any sugar that you like forget to mix in, and just keep doing that until everything is fine. So right here, we're going to be adding our all-purpose flour into the mixture, and we're moving on to our dry ingredients. I don't have a specific brand of flour that I like to use. As long as it's all-purpose, it's fine. And we're going to be adding 2 cups of flour. So right here, I kind of struggled to get the 2 cups of flour that I wanted, because I usually use like a big like sack of flour, but just for the purpose of this special pan, I just brought like a small thing of flour because I wasn't gonna be baking anytime soon again. So I just brought like a small 2 pound bag. So once your flour is all mixed in, you should be able to do like a perfect figure 8, as you can see here. It shouldn't be clumpy, it shouldn't be too liquidy, just like the nice consistency. And now we're adding baking powder. You only want to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Don't overdo it with the baking powder, because you don't want it to be like a cake, like not too much so it doesn't rise when it's baking, but as long as it's like a firm consistency, like a actual brownie, but not to where it's like a cake. And right here, I was smelling it, and I could see that the vanilla smell was coming out, and that's where I realized the vanilla that I brought was good enough. So now we're moving on to the good part, the actual chocolate. I use unsweetened cocoa powder. I know some people in their brownie recipes, they like to use melted milk chocolate chips, or chocolate syrup, whatever they want to use, but I specifically use unsweetened cocoa powder. I feel like that's the best way to use, or best thing to use to make the brownies. You don't want to use like any other like chocolate or cocoa that has like sugar in it already, because you're adding so much sugar in the batter. You don't want to have like chocolate that has too much sugar, so it's not too sweet and overpowering the brownie. I added 8 teaspoons in the batter, but I ended up adding 2 more because I felt like it wasn't enough. But you just want to taste your batter just to make sure there's enough cocoa powder in there, and to make sure it's sweet enough to your liking, or however you want it to be. One more thing I forgot to mention, I also recommend to have your oven preheated to 350 degrees, or if you want it hotter, however you want to do it, but I recommend 350. You don't want to sit there and preheat your oven after you do the mixture, because you don't want the mixture sitting there that long and becoming stiff. So now we are adding our chocolate chips. I use milk chocolate chips. Some recipes that you may see online may call for dark chocolate, or if you want to spice it up a little bit, you can add white chocolate. But for the sake of these like simple original brownies, you can add the milk chocolate chips, which is perfectly fine.
Girl, where'd you go?
So you want to use, if you're making like a small pan, 8x9, I believe pan, like the small ones. It's gonna tell you whenever you buy it at the store. They usually come in packs or one. It's gonna tell you the exact measurements. You're gonna use an 8x9 brownie pan. I'm using an aluminum one. You can buy a reusable one if you're choosing to make brownies. You know, if you're gonna use the brownie pan often, you buy a reusable one. But for the sake of the brownies being for sale, mine, I use the regular aluminum one with the plastic top that can go on top of it. After you fold the chocolate chips in and you're doing all that good stuff, you just want to put it in the pan. Make sure you scrape everything out because ingredients are not cheap. So you want to use all your batter and make sure everything is in there and get every single drop in there. So for this final part, it's really optional. You don't have to do this, but I'm just adding my extra chocolate chips on top. I really recommend it because I feel like, if you want to just use all the chocolate chips you have, or if you have a little bit left, just so the brownies can be extra chocolatey or however you want it to your liking. Add some extra on top, like have them melt on top. I recommend it. It's really good. So now we're gonna pop the brownie into the oven, and you just want to make sure that your oven is preheated, like I said earlier, to 350 degrees, and you're gonna be baking it for 45 minutes or until you stick a fork in it and it comes out dry. Once the brownies are done, you just want to open your oven and take it out. Right here, I was just sticking a knife in there and just double checking to see if it was, ready in the middle and all those places. Since you're adding the chocolate chips on top, it was kind of hard for me to figure out if the brownie was done, but just by looking at it, I can already tell it was done. Mine was kind of cracking at the top because it was kind of a little too much butter that I put in it, but it came out perfectly fine anyway. And once you stick your knife or your fork in the brownie, it should come out clean like this. The extra chocolate that you see on the knife is from the chocolate chips on top, I promise. So this is how the brownie should come out. You want to let it cool for about, I want to say 10-15 minutes before eating, just so you don't burn yourself. So this is a finished product of the brownie. You can see it's kind of cracked, but that's because I added a little too much butter, and also taking out the oven, I kind of smushed it. But it still tastes good and everything was perfectly fine. Alright, and that was the recipe on how to make the brownies. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And that's it. Bye, guys.